Hey, today I'm going to go over my Super Nintendo collection. I currently have about 58 games in the collection. I'm going to focus on the games, so let's get started here and look at the first game in my collection, which is Super Adventure Island. And that's a really fun side-scrolling game. There are 3 Adventure Islands on the NES, and this is a sequel to that, so it's like updated graphics. Next we have Axelay, which is a fun shooter from Konami, and I recommend this game a lot. It's a lot of fun. It's a really cool space shooter. Then we have Batman Returns, also by Konami, and this is a game that I didn't really discover until more recently, and it's a side-scrolling beat-em-up game. It's a lot of fun. Next we have another Konami game, Super Castlevania 4, and you know there's 3 Castlevania games on the NES, so this is a Super NES version of Castlevania, and there's only one that we got. Well, there's actually 2, but I only have one Castlevania game for Super Nintendo, and this one's a lot of fun. Next is Contra 3: The Alien Wars, and a lot of people like this game. I don't love this game. I think it's good. It's the levels are kind of unique the way they design them and everything, but I prefer the Contra game on the original NES. I still play this once in a while though. Next we have Cybernator, which is like a side-scrolling beat-em-up game, but you control robots and stuff. It's pretty cool. Then we have Darius Twin, which is a space shooter game from Taito. I love shooters. And then we have Donkey Kong Country, the original one for Super Nintendo, and that's just a really fun side-scrolling game. There's actually 3, as you're about to see, so that's the first one. Here's Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy Kong's Quest. And then also I have Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble. Out of all 3 of those, I think I prefer the first one the best. Earth Defense Force from Jaleco is another space shooter game. F-Zero is a really fun futuristic racing game. It uses the Mode 7 graphics, so it kind of looks 3D like Super Mario Kart. Final Fight is a really awesome beat-em-up game by Capcom. One of my favorite games on the Super Nintendo. Definitely check this one out if you haven't already. Well, I like the original so much that I went ahead and I got Final Fight 2. It's another side-scrolling beat-em-up game from Capcom. I don't actually have the third one because that one's a little bit expensive, but the first 2 are great. Gradius 3, another space shooter. Gun Force, which is like a side-scrolling shooter, and it's kind of like, it reminds me of like Metal Slug, but it's not as good. It's a little bit buggy, but I still have some fun with it. Joe and Mac, which is like a side-scrolling game where you control 2 cavemen. There's also a version of this on the NES, but the Super NES version looks a little bit better, obviously. Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball, and this is like the best baseball game on the Super Nintendo in my opinion. Nintendo did a really good job with this, and they worked with Ken Griffey Jr. to sponsor it, and it has all the real major league teams and everything from the 90s. Pretty fun game. Killer Instinct, which is a fighting game, and this is a black cartridge, which is kind of cool and unique. Fun game. Kirby's Dream Course. A lot of people don't like this game, but I absolutely love it. It was on the Super Nintendo Classic, and it's basically like Kirby, but in a putt-putt game. Or, you know, mini. Some people call it putt-putt, some people call it mini golf, but you know what I mean. And then there's Kirby Superstar, and this is like 8 games in one. It's a lot of fun because there's like a lot of mini games in here and stuff. Then I have, this is probably my most expensive Super Nintendo game because it can go for $100. Kirby's Dream Land 3. It was made later on in the Super Nintendo lifespan, so it's a little bit rare. And you know, it's just a typical Kirby game, but the graphics look really good because by that point they were developing Super Nintendo games and they were making them look really nice. Knights of the Round, which is also an expensive game, side-scrolling game from Capcom. Basically, you control like this takes place in the old, like, you know, 1400s or something, where you have like swords and kind of like Golden Axe, I guess you could, if you had to describe it. Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, really awesome action RPG. You know, it's Zelda for the Super Nintendo. Pilot Wings, and this is another game that I think is underrated. It's just like a flight simulator. You can control an airplane and a few other things, and it's just, I think this was a release game for the Super Nintendo. I've always really enjoyed it. War of the Gems is a cool game because you control superheroes in the Marvel universe, and it's like a side-scrolling beat 'em up game. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is also another fun side-scrolling beat 'em up game. Only you control the Power Rangers. Mr. Do is like an arcade game that was ported to the Super Nintendo. It's kind of like Dig Dug mixed with Pac-Man. Move the games over a little bit. Hopefully not knock them over. Miss Pac-Man, which is, I mean, everyone knows Miss Pac-Man. Fun game for the Super Nintendo. Mortal Kombat 2, and I believe this is my favorite Mortal Kombat of all the Mortal Kombats that they ever made. There's also the first one, which is very good, but I kind of prefer the second one. And I actually only own the second one. NBA Jam is just an awesome basketball game. You know, it's like side-scrolling type looking game where you jump really high and you can like dunk really loud and make all these like cool effects and stuff. NHL 94. This is a really good hockey game for the Super Nintendo. I know you're probably thinking Super Nintendo hockey, those don't go too well together. Well, this one is actually surprisingly well done. Nice to spend a lot of time in it. So it's one of my favorite hockey games. Pack Attack. This is another underrated game. I don't think a lot of people know about. It's basically just, it's kind of like Tetris. It's a puzzle game, and the blocks fall, and then when Pac-Man falls, he like eats up all the ghosts and stuff, and then the other blocks fall more. It's a pretty cool game. Phalanx is another space shooter, and this is like iconic because there's this old guy playing a guitar or like a banjo on the cover, and no one knows why he's there, but because it has nothing to do with the game, so it's kind of funny. But it's a fun game. Star Fox. This game really didn't hold up too well over the years. I mean, today it just does not look that good, but back in the day, I mean, this thing just blew me away because it was 3D on my home console, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. Street Fighter 2 Turbo. And I think they made like 3 or 4 different Street Fighter 2 games on the Super Nintendo because it was just selling like crazy. But out of all of them, I like this one the best because I have the most, I just remember I had the most fun with this one. I remember it the most from when I was younger. Stunt Race FX. Not a lot of people really play this game, but I kind of like it. Again, this is another one that hasn't held up too well because it's like 3D. And, you know, 3D on the Super Nintendo, it didn't look that good. But once in a while, I'll still pop it in and reminisce. Sunset Riders is a really awesome game for the Super Nintendo. It's a little bit more on the expensive side, but it's like a Wild West side-scrolling shooter. Super Bomberman 2. It's a fun game. Not as fun as the original one for the NES, in my opinion, but it's kind of nice because it has updated graphics for the Super Nintendo. All right, Super Double Dragon on the Super Nintendo is an awesome game. It's one of my favorite games on the Super Nintendo, and I wish a lot of people think Double Dragon, they think NES, but this game kicks butt on the Super Nintendo. So definitely check this out if you haven't already. Super Mario All-Stars, it's one of my favorite games on the Super Nintendo because it has all four of the, or three, well yeah, four of the NES games, including the 1, 2, 3, and the Lost Levels from Japan. So it's a great game to have some fun with. And this is like the same game, but it has Super Mario World as well, so it's actually 5 games in one. Super Mario Kart, what can I say? It's just an awesome, awesome game. One of the best games on the Super Nintendo. Just a kart racer. It was like the first kart racer ever. There were some before it, but this is really one that's defined the genre. Super Mario World, I mean, this is like also one of the best games on the Super Nintendo. It was a release title. It's, you know, like Mario's, I believe it's only one of Mario's 2 games on the Super Nintendo, the other one being Yoshi's Island. Super Metroid. I'm not a huge Super Metroid fan, but I respect it, so I do own it. I prefer Metroid on the NES, but I do like Super Metroid. It's a fun game. Super Punch-Out. There's another one where like I just like the NES version better. The Super NES version, they added some new stuff to it, and it's just not as good for me, but it's still a cool game. Oh, I guess I do have another Street Fighter. So I have Super Street Fighter 2. And it's similar to Street Fighter 2 Turbo, but I think it has a few more characters or something. Super Turrican is a really fun side-scrolling shooter. And this is another game I didn't know about when I was younger, but I found out about it recently, and I really enjoy it. Sonic Blast Man is another fun game that I know about when I was younger, and I found out about it more recently, and it's basically like a beat-em-up game, kind of similar to Final Fight, but you play like the superhero guy called Sonic Blast Man. Tecmo Super Bowl, fun football game. It has like the real teams and stuff, as you can see here. It has Team NFL, and it's up-to-date graphics over the NES version for the Super Nintendo. Tetris Attack is an awesome puzzle game for the Super Nintendo, one of my favorite puzzle games. This is a really good Super Nintendo game, Turtles 4, Turtles in Time, based off the arcade game. A lot of fun side-scrolling game. You play the Ninja Turtles. UN Squadron's a fun space shooter game. X-Men Mutant Apocalypse is a fun side-scrolling fighting game where you control the X-Men. And this is the other of the 2 Mario games on the Super Nintendo, Yoshi's Island, Super Mario World 2, and this is a really good game. Awesome graphics and everything too. And then Zombies Ate My Neighbors. I know a lot of people love this game. I like this game. I don't think it's amazing like a lot of people say, but I have some fun with it, so I have it in my collection. Then the last thing I have to show you guys is my Super Game Boy, which lets me play Game Boy games on my Super Nintendo, and it has like some updated graphics and stuff when you play it through your Super Game Boy. And then the last thing I have to show you is my 101 package game, where you have a whole bunch of those more expensive games on the Super Nintendo, like Final Fight Guy and stuff. That's all in this one cartridge. That's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed my Super Nintendo collection. Thanks for watching.